Okay, here we are. Today is day 22 for the Advent of Cyber Challenge. Today's challenge is C2 detection, command, and carol. And of course, we have our two associated videos here. And we can scroll down. In today's challenge, we have two tasks. Task 1, introduction, and task 2, detecting C2 with Rita. So I see here in task 1, we already have a start machine icon. So we're going to go ahead and kick that off. And while that's loading, we will start working through task 1 here, introduction. Let's close this. All right, the TBFC team is very weary since the last series of attacks by the underlings of King Malhair. They are on full alert for anything happening, but they are getting restless. It is too quiet. Sir Elfo and TBFC take the initiative and proposes to hunt for command and control traffic, which would be C2 traffic. Using the meticulously collected network traffic, a majority of TBC elves object. We do not have time to go through so much network traffic. Sir Elfo chuckles, don't fret, for I have a powerful tool to assist us. I present you with Rita, which is Real Intelligence Threat Analytics. And we just need to convert our PCAP files into Zeek logs. Rita will do the rest, and of course, anyone can do it. So we're just going to follow along today's task. Learning objectives, we're going to convert PCAP files to Zeek logs. We'll use Rita to analyze Zeek logs, and then we'll analyze the output of Rita. So before moving forward, we can review the questions, which it should be, have I started my target machine? Yes. And the connection card, all we're going to need today is a VM, and it's available in split screen. Of course, this section here just explains how we start our target machine, which we've already done. So we'll pause here and then start task 2. Okay, now that our target machine IP is available and our machine is completely loaded, we can start task 2, which is detecting C2 with Rita. So the magic of Rita, Real Intelligence Threat Analytics, is an open source framework created by Active Countermeasures. Its core functionality is to detect command and control communications, so C2. By analyzing network traffic captures in logs, its primary features are C2 beacon detection, DNS tunneling detection, long connection detection, data exfiltration, checking threat intel feeds, score connections by severity, show the number of hosts communicating with a specific external IP, shows the date and time when the external host was first seen on the network. And the magic behind Rita is its analytics. It correlates several captured fields, including IP addresses, ports, timestamps, and connection durations, among many others. Based on the normalized and correlated dataset, Rita runs several analysis modules collecting information like periodic connection intervals, excessive number of DNS queries, long FQDNs, random subdomains, volume of data over time over HTTPS, DNS, or non-standard ports, self-signed or short-lived certificates, known malicious IPs by cross-referencing with a public threat intel feed or block lists, and Rita only accepts network traffic input as Zeek logs. Zeek is an open source network security monitoring tool, so NSM. And Zeek is not a firewall or IPS IDS. It does not use signatures or specific rules to take an action. It simply observes network traffic via configured span ports, which are used to copy traffic from one port to another for monitoring, physical network taps, or imported packet captures in the PCAP format. Zeek then analyzes and converts this input into a structured, enriched output. This output can be used in incident detection and response, as well as threat hunting. And out of the box, Zeek covers 2 of the 4 types of NSM data, so networking, security monitoring, and transaction data, summarized records of application layer transactions, and extracted content data, so files or artifacts, extracted, such as executables. PCAP, I convert ye to Zeek logs. So we're going to get started here. A neat feature of Zeek is that it can convert packet captures, PCAPs, into structured logs. If you haven't done so yet, let's open the VM and start a terminal. Then we're going to navigate to the home directory of the logged in user and list its contents as shown in the terminal below. So we're going to open terminal here. Let's do print working directory. So we are in the home user and we can list the contents. And it wants us to recognize PCAPs and Zeek logs. PCAPs, Zeek logs. So the PCAPs directory contains example PCAPs of real-life incidents collected from Bradley Duncan's blog. He has a wonderful collection of malware-related PCAPs that cover real-world threats. So the Zeek logs directory contains Zeek logs. These were created by parsing a PCAP file. Let's parse a PCAP ourselves and look at the output Zeek logs. And we will use Zeek read PCAP and then PCAP file output directory command. So we'll use this one here. So Zeek read PCAP, PCAPs /async rat dot PCAP Zeek _logs /async rat. And we can just paste. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. And let's go and run that. So we see starting the Zeek Docker container, Zeek logs will be saved to home Ubuntu Zeek logs async rat. So we saw we have that folder here, or directory if you will. All right, so now we need to examine the logs. So we're going to navigate directly to home Ubuntu Zeek logs async rat. So we're going to go here. So we can do that one step at a time if we want. Zeek _logs. Take a look. And we can do sync or async rat. And now we can see all these log files in here. So in the terminal above, we can see the different Zeek logs that were generated for using Rita. We don't really need to know what is in these logs, although the names are quite self-descriptive. So capture loss, known host, known services, so on and so forth. However, if you want, or if you are interested, you can use CAT to examine their content. So of course, CAT just means concatenate. So we could always do like concatenate HTTP log, and we can get that output here. So if we wanted to view them one by one, and I'm sure we could run grep to run through that as well if we were looking for something specific. So we can find more info at https://docs.zeek.org and this folder path here, or file path if you will, if you want a detailed description. So now we're going to analyze this in Rita. Now that we have prepared the Zeek logs, we can import them into Rita and unleash its analytics. So we're going to enter the command below to import Zeek logs and let Rita do its work. Once we enter the command, Rita will parse and analyze the imported logs as seen in the terminal. A lot of output is produced, and the terminal output was redacted in the example below to keep it tidy. Okay, so let's clear the screen here. And it looks like we're in a new instance, so let's just go ahead and grab. And we'll go back to the home user. Oh, there we go. Clear this out. And then we're going to go ahead and run Rita import -- logs, Zeek logs, async rat -- database async rat. So we're going to copy, paste, and let's run that. So we can see we got some movement going on there. And I might throw this, I don't know, we might just leave it how it is. Let's go ahead and zoom out just a bit. Let's do, there we go. There we go. All right, so we just ran this one here. Okay, now that Rita has parsed and analyzed our data, we can view the results by entering the command Rita view and then the database name. So let's go ahead and go into full view here, and let's go into full screen. We'll just do that. And then we'll go ahead and zoom back in just a little bit since I'm blind as a bat. There we go. So we see, it looks like everything is ran through here. And we can run Rita view async rat. So Control C, come back. I'm just going to go ahead and clear this out. And we'll try and maybe paste. What am I doing? Trying to highlight. It's a terminal. There we go. And we can see the Rita tool opened here. Let's go. There we go. Now we can see everything. So after entering the command, we can see the structured terminal window with the results as shown in the image below. So we do see, should it be that IP there? Yes, it is. And we see the destination looks to be the same. Now the terminal window shows three elements: the search bar, the results pane, and the details pane. So search bar, results, details. Yep, we got those. So in the search bar, of course, to search, we need to enter a /. We can then enter our search term and narrow down the results. The search utility supports the use of search fields. So when we enter a question mark while in search mode, we can see an overview of the search fields alongside some examples. The image below shows the help for the search utility. And to exit the help page, we can enter question mark again. Enter the escape key to exit the search functionality. So, is it in the search bar? It looks like it. I guess it's highlighted. /. Maybe not. Is it not working? So here we have the help fields. Let's go ahead and see if we can. Okay, yeah, so that did work. So it opened up the help field, and then it was able to go back. So in the results pane includes information for each entry that can quickly help us recognize potential threats. The following columns are included: severity, source and destination, beacon, duration, and subdomain, as well as threat intel. So we can see severity, source, destination, beacon, duration, subdomains, and threat intel. Okay, and we can see two interesting findings in FQDN pointing to Sunshine Bizrate Incorporated Software.trycloudflare.com, followed by an IP. So we're going to move the keyboard arrows to select the first entry, and you should see detailed information in the right pane. Okay, yep, we can see that these do change in the details pane there. Okay, So the details pane, apart from the source and destination, we have two information categories: threat modifiers and connection info. Let's have a closer look at these categories. So we have threat modifiers. This is the criteria to determine the severity and likelihood of potential threats. The following modifiers are available. So MIME type, URL mismatch, which flags connections where the MIME type reported in the HTTP header doesn't match the URL. This can indicate an attacker is trying to trick the browser or security tool. Rare signatures. This points to unusual patterns that attackers might overlook, such as unique user agent string that is not seen in any other connections on the network. Prevalence, which analyzes the number of internal hosts communicating with a specific external host. A low percentage of internal hosts communicating with an external one can be suspicious. First seen checks the date of an external host was first observed on the network. A new host on the network is more likely to be a potential threat. Missing host headers, so identifies HTTP connections that are missing the host header, which is often an oversight by attackers or a sign of misconfigured systems. Large amount of outgoing data. It will flag connections that send a very large amount of data out from the network itself. And no direct connections. This will flag connections that don't have any direct connections, which can be a sign of more complex or hidden command and control communications. Then we have our connection info. So real quick, source IP, prevalence first seen. That would be the threat modifiers. And then we have connection info here. Okay, so connection info. Here we can find the connections metadata and basic connection info like connection count, total bytes sent, port number, protocol, and service. So connection count shows the number of connections initiated between the source and the destination. A very high number can be an indicator of C2 beacon activity. Total bytes sent displays the total amount of bytes sent from the source to destination. If this is a very high number, it could be an indication of data exfil. And port number, protocol, and service. If the port number is a non-standard, it warrants further investigation. The lack of SSL in the service info could also be an indicator that warrants further investigation. And what is this? Now that we have covered the look and feel of Rita, let's focus on the results displayed by Rita. Most of the time, the results that are displayed warrant some attention. If the entry doesn't have a high severity score, it can still be an indicator of compromise, IOC. And we are using a smaller data set, and this has some downsides as well. For example, the first seen threat modifier is relatively low due to the small time frame packets being captured. This can affect the severity score, and in any case, we can still examine the entries and their details and make our own analysis. So let's examine the first entry. Okay. So the first thing we notice is the long FQDN of Sunshine, Bizrate, incorporated software, so on and so forth. A quick search on Virus Total indicates that the URL is flagged as malicious. Wow, that was easy. So we can go ahead and check the destination IP of the second entry as well. We are lucky to have found known indicators of compromise immediately. However, this is not always the case. Attackers often change their infrastructure and rotate IPs and domain names. Therefore, we should look a bit further, and when we don't have a hit with known IOCs, indicators of compromise, let's analyze the entire entries a bit more. When we look at the details pane, we can see some info. Rita included the rare signature threat modifier. So let's go here. So we're in the FQDN, and we can see on the details pane. Oh, sorry, keep flip-flopping here. That we do have connection info, connection count 5, rare signature located here. Okay. So when we look at the details pane, we can see more info. Rito included a rare signature threat modifier. The inclusion indicates the combination of certain parameters, for example, SSL certificate details. Related to this connection is uncommon compared to the rest of the analyzed HTTPS traffic. Malware or C2 connections often create unique TLS handshake patterns that differ from those of browsers and legitimate clients, making them stand out even though the payload is encrypted. There's not much more we can say about the first entry, so let's have a look at the second entry. The IP is malicious according to VirusTotal. The connection duration is quite long, and the ports mentioned are non-standard ports. This information warrants further investigation, so you can pivot on the information you have obtained and dig into Zeek logs and PCAP files. This is out of scope for this walkthrough, but feel free to dig around and into to find out more information. Just be cautious, as some of the PCAPs may contain malicious files, domains, and IPs that are still in use. Each will do his part, so now that everyone has gone through the manual, let's hunt those mal rabbits down. We have put a lot of effort into capturing network traffic. Please analyze the PCAP's Rita challenge.pcap with Rita and answer the questions below. Note, use the learned steps to process the PCAP and analyze it with Rita. Okay, so it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. So the first one is how many hosts are communicating with the malware.net? Which threat modifier tells us that the number of hosts communicating on a certain destination? What is the highest number of connections to rabbithole.malware.net? Which search filter would you use to search for all entries that communicate to rabbithole.malware.net with a beacon score greater than 70%, sorted by connection duration descending? Oh, good night. And which port did the host 10.0.0.13 use to connect to rabbithole.malware.net? So first we need to locate this here. So let's come back. I wonder if we can just Control C to get out of here. We can, nice. And let's then drop this, come into this one. Let's pull up our history here of how we turned those into Zeek logs. Okay. And let's go back one more, take a look inside. We can go into PCAPs, and we want to do Rita challenge PCAP. Okay. Let me pull up my history here on how we did that exactly. PCAPs async rack. Okay. And so what we'll do is Rita underscore challenge PCAP Zeek logs, and then we'll call this one Rita challenge. Oh, second L, there we go. Rita challenge, is that not the name? RITA. Read PCAP, PCAPs, which we're in, underscore Rita challenge dot PCAP, Zeek logs. So is it because, let's go back. There we go. I was just too far ahead in the folder path there. Okay, so now we're gonna do ls. We'll go into Zeek logs. And now we also have read a challenge. And we have our logs. Okay. So let's clear that. Let's pull up our history here again. That was how we converted. Okay. Let's open up our other terminal that we had. This one here. And we need to import logs, Zeek logs. All right. We'll call this one, I guess, Rita challenge. One, two, three, four. Oop. There we go. Okay, so that's loading into Rita. All right, so we should be finished from there. And now let's do Rita underscore challenge. Okay. So a couple high severities, couple lows, and this one shows as none. So let's come back down. How many hosts are communicating with malware.net? Oh, good night. There's a lot of them in here. How many hosts are communicating with malware.net? Source IPs 1, 3. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Six. Okay, which threat modifier tells us the number of hosts communicating on a certain destination? Which threat modifier prevalence? Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. Let's load that back up. I went to go copy it and it closed it out. So what is the highest number of connections to rabbithole.malware.net? So we just need to run through each of those. So this one shows 31 connected. Next one shows 40, 38, 29, 21, and 16. So it looks like the most is going to be 40. Now, which search filter would you use to search for all entries that communicate to rabbithole.malware.net with a beacon score greater than 70%, sorted by connection duration descending? Okay, so we'd want rabbithole.malware.net, beacon score greater than 70, and sorted by connection duration. Well, let's go into search / we'll do a question. We can filter by, so supported Let's filter by DST, right? So destination. Let's go to notes. So it'd be DST. Then we would do a colon. And it would be rabbithole.malhare.net space. Okay. I'm looking at this down here. All right, so we would do then a beacon score. So what would be the beacon score here? Duration right here, beacon. So we'll do beacon colon. And it would be greater than. So we would do this here, that operator of greater than 70. Do we add percent or anything? No, just 70. And then sort. And sort duration. And then ours is going to be the same thing, right? Duration descending. Oh, you don't have to do the full word. Cool. So I think this would be our output here, or well, what we would put in. So let's do paste. Nice. And what port did the host 10.0.0.13 use to connect to rabbithole.malhare.net? What port? So let's get out of this. And 10.0.0.13, correct? Yes. What port? There we go. And we can see port 80, protocol TCP over service HTTP. So port 80. Awesome. Not gonna lie, that one was actually really fun. I liked that one. Okay, and then just Control C to get out. Of course, if we want, we can just write exit to close this. We can do the same thing on our other one here. Exit to close this. Terminate our machine. Close that window out. We can just double check. Terminate is complete. And pop those out. And that should be it for this challenge.